All right, 36, same directions as before. Perform the indicated operations and simplify. Assume that all variables represent positive real numbers. So we've been given 5 times the square root of 5 and asked to add that to 8 times the square root of 45. Well, unfortunately, number 36 is not quite as easy as number 35, but we'll be able to dispense with this without too much difficulty, I hope. So what I always like to do is whenever I see radicals here and I'm asked to simplify, I always break my radicals up into good stuff, bad stuff, especially when I recognize right away that the number under the radical is not, in this case, perfect squares, right? 5 is not a perfect square, 45 is not a perfect square. And so the way that I do this is I go 5, good stuff, bad stuff, plus 8, good stuff, bad stuff. So all I've done is I've taken the single radical that we started with and broken it up into good stuff, bad stuff. Taken the single radical we started with, broke it up into good stuff, bad stuff. All right, let's see what we have here. So we know that we're dealing with square roots, right? The index or root for each of these radicals is 2. So we're not going to write that number because remember, when there's no index or root explicitly indicated here, we know it's automatically a 2, a square root. And now we want to ask ourselves, we know that 5 is not a perfect square, but is there another number, is there a perfect square that we can multiply by some other number to get to 5? Well, unfortunately the answer is no. So all of 5 is going to go in the bad stuff. There is no good stuff in radical 5. All right, let's take a look here at 45. We also know that 45 is not a perfect square, but is there a perfect square that we can multiply by some other number to get to 45? Well, hopefully you said 9 times 5, right? 9 is a perfect square, and we can multiply 9 by 5 to get 45. And now that we've broken up our original into good stuff, bad stuff, let's go ahead and see if we can simplify. Here, the first term here, we're going to get rid of the good stuff radical. Nothing is happening there. Nothing was underneath the radical, so it kind of goes away. And so we're just left with 5 radical 5, exactly what we started with. Plus, now over here, however, is something that is going to change. Because we were able to break up radical 45 into good stuff, bad stuff, well, now the good stuff is going to come out of the radical free and clear. And what happens is, whatever the radical comes out as free and clear, that number you're going to multiply by whatever was originally on the outside. So what is the square root of 9? Well, the square root of 9 is 3, isn't it? But there was an 8 here on the outside, so we're going to take the 3 that was our radical 9 and multiply it by the 8 that was on the outside already. And then we'll go ahead and rewrite our garbage, our radical 5. All right, so the next step here, let's go ahead and clean this up, simplify it a little bit. We have 5 radical 5 plus, well, what is 8 times 3? Well, 8 times 3 is 24, isn't it? So 24 radical 5. And now that we have the exact same radicals, both of our terms have radical 5, we can go ahead and combine these. These are now like terms. And what we're going to do is simply add the coefficients, those numbers outside directly in front of our radicals. And then by doing that, we're going to have 5 plus 24. Well, that gives us 29. And then we rewrite the radical. So in this case, the square root of 5. So our final answer is 29 square root of 5.